Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 103, which is called Migration Season. This was the end of this Jugo Curse Mark arc, and I think despite it starting off somewhat well and having a couple of interesting moments throughout, I would ultimately say that by the end, this arc really went kind of downhill. I don't think it was terrible, but it really didn't come together right at the end. Right at the end, it really highlighted how little there was going on in this arc. And not even, Team Taka basically being there could bring it kind of back up to the potential that it had. In that, the one thing I wanted them to do here is kind of the one thing that they didn't really do. They just were so vague about it in the end. That is, kind of some sort of development for Jugo by the end of this, and they didn't do anything. They just left off with the idea that, like, okay, Boruto sort of helped calm him down again, and he has hope because Boruto mentioned destiny a few times, and, you can strive to be who you want to be, and that's that. No real suggestion that, like, the curse mark problem has been, like, solved or any sort of solution to it, just that no, he met Boruto, and because of that, he's sort of kind of happy going forward. So I kind of felt like in the end, this arc teased something and then just didn't do it. And it's going to end up, I think, just being remembered as, oh yeah, remember that arc where they focused on the birds for like 6 episodes? That's really what this arc is going to be remembered as, more so than anything. I like the Karin, Sarada moments throughout. I suppose in the end, that ends up being the highlight of the arc is just the interaction of those two characters, more so than anything. Because by the end, Totaka, it was this big reveal that they waited 4 episodes before we finally found out what we were about. And in the end, all it was okay, he created a curse mark. How? He wanted to test it against Jugo, who's the original curse mark, for some reason. He loses instantaneously. And then the threat is just that, oh yeah, this curse mark that the guy made that we really didn't get explained is going to spread around the world because birds migrate. I'm like, okay, that's some sort of a threat. And you tease the idea that they might have to blow up all the birds. But it really didn't do all that much. So one of the main takeaways from this arc is kind of mainly what they did with Sumire, and that the whole, be who you want to be, destiny thing kind of ended up affecting her more than Jugo, because she makes her decision here with the fact that she can't seem to control Nue now that he's bigger. She has made the decision now to try to join the scientific ninja tool department to try and scientifically find some way to, I suppose, increase her connection to allow her to still use Nue going forward. So that is good because it directly sets up something from the manga. When Sumire first appeared in the manga, we got the reveal that she wasn't, one of the Genin, I suppose, anymore, and she was part of the scientific ninja tool department. Now we know why that is, and I suppose sets up the idea that if she gets what she needs to out of that, she might be able to come back, and that she's always been a very, very solid, fighter. So it kind of leaves that door open, and that's at least something nice that's going on here. But yeah, like I said, I didn't get a lot out of most of the fights that went on here. I thought the design for full curse mark Totaka was at least somewhat interesting, and I ultimately will kind of appreciate that they didn't have it be a protracted battle and it was just, nope, original curse mark is best, and Jugo just completely destroys him. I like that, I suppose I didn't get too much out of the Nue kind of fight. It's just okay, Nue is very powerful, it gets across the idea Sumire can't control him, he's so much more powerful than she is. But again, there wasn't a lot of great choreography there. And so you get this moment, and I think ultimately this is a connection that I don't think was very well developed, and that is Boruto and Jugo. I think it's such an odd combination. I think most of it comes down to the fact that Jugo doesn't really talk all that much, and the setup for all of this I just really struggled with, in that ultimately it was Boruto killed one of the birds in one of the earlier episodes. Jugo kind of guilt-tripped him and then Boruto's been trying to like impress him ever since, and there's been this kind of minor thing about like destiny going forward, and they're using the birds as kind of like symbolism for all of this, with the the geese, that one white bird that like didn't seem to be able to fly, but then it flies at the end and it signifying something. It just didn't all come together. Like, there are arcs when that sort of stuff comes together. This wasn't one of them because they never made it clear what the development for Jugo actually was. In that, like, they just have Totaka at the end captured, but he's not going back to the Leaf Village. So is Jugo going to like use him to like experiment on him to find some way to cure the curse mark, or what? It's this weird thing where borderline, like, I almost wish the arc would continue to actually develop that point and actually make the arc worth something. But if it's just going to be this level of quality, I don't want to go back to it. Now, not to say that I'm done with Team Taka, and that like I do still like them. As I said, Karin, I really liked the stuff with Sarda throughout these episodes, even the little bits and pieces we got here. Suigetsu I always find fun when he's on screen, and he got a cool opportunity to shine here with using his water jutsu. He drinks one of the cures and then kind of creates this kind of rain shower over the entire area, and that's how they basically resolve the mass curing of the curse mark. So that was a cool moment to give Suigetsu. But yeah, by the end of the arc, like the only real takeaway is this kind of, okay, Sumire is kind of changing things up. She's going down a different path. Jugo is happier, ? Like, and that's really about it. I was just amazed at like how, I suppose, sort of hyped I was in the earlier episodes of this arc, and how it just really, really started to go downhill. Like I said, I don't want to just rip this arc apart or anything like that, but I don't really see the positives behind a lot of what they were trying to do here. I think they it ultimately, what it comes down to is I think 6 episodes was way too much for the amount of content that you had here. Like, there was no real depth or explanation to the villain, and so this whole arc happening is just this very minor mission about birds, and then because of that, it didn't need to be 6 episodes. You could have accomplished all of this in probably half the amount of time. And then especially with like the next episode, it's like Mitsuki gets a kitten to look after. Like, that could be at least fun, because Mitsuki's always interesting, and especially if they're going to have him form a connection with this cat, that's, you know, something. But like, I kind of want us to get back around to some sort of a more substantial kind of plot. So yeah, what it leaves us with is ultimately that, like, some of these arcs, the main problem is ultimately the pacing compared to what actually is happening, and a lot of them have felt like super extended for what they're actually about. We need to kind of get a, you know, I suppose a quicker arc that has a lot of substance to it, and that's kind of what we need to get back on track. I don't know how long it's going to be before we get to adapting some of the manga stuff, but I suppose they'll have to do that at some point, but the manga is moving so slowly that, like, how long are they going to wait before it gets way ahead to let the manga get ahead? Who really knows? So, yeah, unfortunately, I was not a fan of this arc kind of by the end. Only had a handful of nice moments, I think. So, definitely more middle of the road, you know, like, you know, your kind of 6 out of 10 type arc, more so than anything. So, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this arc. Do you disagree with me on this and you actually really liked it? Definitely let me know. Or do you agree that it really didn't go anywhere by the end? So that's my thoughts on this episode. In the comments, let me know. And that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.